Alrighty, let's take a look at this question. So we seem to have a big ugly fraction here. So we have a fraction being divided by another fraction. So personally, I like to write that sideways rather than vertically. So I would start by writing the top fraction divided by the bottom fraction. And then when it's written like that, we know that dividing by a fraction would be the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're going to put what was the denominator of that second fraction now in the numerator, and the numerator is now in the denominator. Just did the reciprocal. Okay, now I always say my motto for this unit is when in doubt, factor it out. But specifically when you see a lot of pluses and minuses between the terms in the numerator and denominator, we want to factor. So let's start with that numerator on the first fraction. And I noticed the trinomial, so I'm going to go with two sets of brackets. To get x to the 4, we're going to go x squared for the first term. And then I would go to the last term to multiply to 4y to the 4. Definitely going to need a y squared, so I'm going to put that in there. Y squared. And to multiply to 4 and add to -5, we'd have to have -4, -1, and there we go. That is factored. And you're probably wondering that middle term, 5x squared y squared, how do we end up getting the x squared y squared? Well, if you look at that, the outside and inside multiplied together would end up having the x squared y squared. So everything's good. All right, go to the denominator. Again, two sets of brackets. X times x gives us x squared. To get y squared at the end, we'll need a y and a y. And to multiply to 2 and add to +3, we'd have to have +2 and +1. So x plus 2y, x plus y. Alrighty, second fraction. Numerator, greatest common factor of 5. We're going to pull out of there to leave x minus 2y in the brackets. And then we have a trinomial in the denominator, so two sets of brackets. Again, x times x will give us that first term of x squared. And the last term, 4y squared, we're going to need a y and a y. We're multiplying to 4 and adding to -4. So this time it's going to be -2 and -2. And there we go. Okay, now at this step we should probably do our restrictions since in a moment here we're going to be canceling stuff off. So restrictions happen whenever you try, in this unit anyways, whenever we try to divide by 0. So if you see a factor in the denominator, that means that factor is essentially being divided. And so I usually underline them all just so I know which ones I need to figure out. Now, that 5x minus 10y used to be in the denominator. So because it was being divided before, we're now going to include it as well. Notice I didn't underline the 5. That's because 5 can never be 0, so we don't have to worry about dividing by 0 when we're talking about a factor of 5. Now, what I do is I set each of these equal to 0, or I guess more appropriately, cannot equal 0. And then I solve. In this case, can't really solve for x, but you can isolate x. Oh, I don't need to do that one a second time. And the top is the same too. Okay, so just those three then. Then you isolate x by, in this first one, subtracting 2y to the other side. So x cannot equal -2y. And for the next one, x plus y equals 0, subtract y from both sides. X can't equal -y, and then the last one, x can't equal +2y. And there we go. So it's not so much a value of x this time that it can't be, it just in relationship to y, it can't equal -2 times y, or it can't equal -y, whatever y was, it can't be the negative of that, or the last one, 2y. All right, let's continue on. The fun part now is when we get to divide common factors. Now that everything is multiplied together, that's what these brackets next to each other means. Oh, I just spotted something else. I'm noticing on top there we've got x squared minus 4y squared. That's a difference of squares. So we're not done factoring yet. So x squared minus 4y squared could be a difference of squares. X minus 2y and x plus 2y. Essentially square root the x squared to get x and x, And then 4y squared would be 2y and 2y multiplied together, and opposite signs. All right, and we also do it with the x squared minus y squared, so x minus y, x plus y. All right, that's a big numerator, but at least now it is fully factored. We just need to write down the rest of our stuff. Here we go. And we're now going to look for common factors. Any common factor in the numerator can divide with any common factor in the denominator. So I see an x minus 2y here, and I see 1 in the denominator here. I see an x minus 2y in the numerator here, and then there's 1 in the denominator right below it. Okay, oh, there's an x plus 2y and an x plus 2y, an x plus y and an x plus y. There we go. Our denominator is completely gone now, or has basically become a 1, so we won't need to write that anymore. And in the numerator, we have x minus y times 5, so I'm going to put that 5 in front. Basically, what's remaining on top, you multiply together. So we've got a 5 in the second fraction times x minus y in the first fraction. And you could multiply that out if you want. It depends on how your teacher likes the answer. And there we go. I hope that helped.